Dust hasn't really settled, it's just settling now. What's the process in terms of looking back at the season and pushing forward to planning for 13?
Well, we've got a lot of review work to do, and that's the first thing. After a pretty pulsating loss, you know, the guys were pretty good Saturday night. Very disappointed in the loss. So I think the first thing they'll do is just review the season with John and the coaches. That's the first step. Then to start to sort through where we can improve, because if we don't improve, we can't win it, and we're here to win it. And consequently, we need to improve our squad, improve the way we play, improve the group in its entirety, and then with any luck we'll be good enough to make the top 4, which gives you a genuine chance at winning it, because it's pretty much proven that if you don't make the top 4, it's a very unrealistic aim to win the premiership.
How many changes or how much tinkering do you need to do to that list to get it to where you want it to be?
Well, it's probably internally more than how many players come off and what we do there. What we need to do is improve, and we think we've seen improvement in a number of our players this year. We know that a lot of the senior guys probably won't improve a lot, but hopefully they can maintain their performances, because in general terms they've been very good. When you look at the performances of Glass and Kerr and Cox and Embley, when Embers has played, he's been good. He hasn't played much. We need more of him to play. We'd like to think Nico will be back, Lacroix will be back. Then you start looking at our younger guys who have improved this year. I think Chris Marston's had a terrific year. Scott Selwood's been terrific all year. Shuey's improved, Mackenzie's improved. You could even say that about Mitch Brown. Mitch Brown's had a really consistent year, just hasn't been able to break in. And you know, they're the players we need to keep improving and make it a better year in 2013.
You've built this list through the draft, and you now to try to get that extra step to go and recycle established players from other clubs like the teams who are in the prelims have. Well,
we try to, Craig. Each year we look at the number of ways you can get people into the club, but we'll certainly look at all avenues. We've done it before, and we've got people in that we need, and there's certainly areas in it. I think most of you would know which areas we need to improve in, so we'll be looking at those areas, but sometimes you just can't get the guys you need. So if that doesn't happen, we're going to have to go down the path of trying to find someone within the group to help us, and that's not an easy task, because you have to find someone capable of playing league football on a regular basis, and it's a torrid comp.
So free agency is obviously new. Is it something, are you well positioned to have a crack at players, Sorry, and White and stuff, in free agency? Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, we're in good shape. We just need to make sure we get the right people. It's so important to get the balance right, and we certainly won't be paying over the odds for players to come into our group. We've got a very settled group, and we don't want to unsettle that group, so we'll be very conscious of that.
You've got a pecking order for the type of player. Obviously, you've got some mature age guys who will be getting towards the end of their careers but are still playing good footy. What's your priority for a position on the field you want to?
Well, we hope Glassy plays till he's 40. I mean, he's been in great shape. So's Dean Cox. Embers hasn't played much this year, so we would hope that all of those players, they're our senior 3, so we're hoping that those 3 can play on, and even beyond next year. We haven't put an age limit on it. Sometimes it's said that, you know, once you hit 30 you're on the way out. Well, these guys have played, you know, really consistent footy, and if they continue to play like that, they just need to maintain their form, and who knows, we may get 2 or 3 years out of them yet.
But is there a spot on the ground that you really want to fill? Is there if you could go, probably only get one, history says it's hard to get 2 or 3 in your list, but which spot would you like to fill the most you can get as an established player?
It's hard to say, because we probably need 2 or 3 players. I don't think there's any one spot, but that's what I'm saying. I would hope that we've got the players on our list. If we haven't got them, John will assess it now after having a full season, because it's difficult to assess in season when you're chopping and changing players. But we probably need a midfielder. We think we've got a key back in Mitch Brown. We think he can do the job for us in the future. And he's had a wretched year with injury and coming in and out of the side, but he still played terrific footy. He was great again yesterday. And we probably need to make sure we keep working on our forward structure, and hopefully, but this is hopefully, with Mark Lacroix coming back in, with Brad Dick making some leeway, with Mark Nikoski coming back, we're going to have people vying for position, and you need competition to make your side better.
You mentioned the veterans before. Is the next 2 years the best chance to snare a flag in the foreseeable future?
I guess if those guys are still here, yeah, naturally, they're good players and they're hard to replace. But we've seen when Nicholas has been fit, how outstanding he is, and I think with Coxie around him, you know, we hope Coxie can play for at least 2, maybe 3 years, and if he can do that and support Nick and vice versa, we're going to have a pretty good start to our engine room, and the rest of it, you know, hopefully we can take care of that.
What about guys like Quinton Lynch and Kobe Stevens? Are they integral to this playing group going forward?
Well, we hope Lynch has got a contract on the table, so hopefully he'll stay. Kobe, we're not sure yet. We'll wait till his season finishes, and then the coaches will talk to Kobe to see where he's at. But Kobe's no different to a lot of young guys. If they don't get opportunity, obviously they've got to have a look at where they're going to play. We rate him very highly as a young man. He's a good, hard player, and he'd like to get the opportunity now, I know. But hopefully we'll retain him. If we don't, we'll have to look at a trade for him.
His last year making a prelim final, this year a semi-final. History says, well, you've gone backwards, but obviously it's not as simple as that. And do you think you've taken the steps with the injury run you've had, etc.?
Yeah, I think we have, Mark. I think we've improved. We lost 130 games approximately of senior players this year, which is massive. And when you lose that amount of games through injury, and some of it we did ourselves, where we lost a few games through suspension, but when you lose that many games in a season, it's hard to cover, because the workload then goes on the guys who are out there. It's not so much the guys that are out, but the workload on the others is massive. And I think our guys have done a really good job. I think we've improved, but so are the other clubs. They've all improved, and we have to improve a lot more than them to win it from Perth. We know that. History tells us that. It's tough, and it's one of the toughest competitions in the world. So we have to improve to be better than Hawthorn, Collingwood, Sydney and Adelaide next year.
Do you think the AFL still has they have a great understanding of what you guys and Freo have to go through? When you look at the fact that this week, if Freo had got through, they'd be playing a twilight game at MCG on Saturday night. If you win, then they've got to get back at 2 a.m. You guys got back at 2 a.m. the other night. Is it still not really right the way the scheduling is done for the two WA clubs?
Well, the AFL have a number of things they've got to throw up all the time. I mean, I think we've got over the days where I have to send them an atlas every year. But I think we're moving forward. I think they have a real appreciation of the travel component. Some people say it doesn't matter, but you know, when you're travelling 11, 12, 13 times a year compared to others at 4, 5 and 6, it's a difference. And we're not travelling in the same time zone, so it does make a difference if your schedule's wrong. I think the AFL are across that now. I think they do the best they possibly can. They try to accommodate us where they can. Unfortunately, we did it to ourselves this week. We had a 6-day break, and it was West Australian football's fault. So we have to cop that, and that's the way it works. Can't blame the AFL for that.
I think it was Nikoski and Emily, 2 other players who are yet to be secured for next year. Where does it stand with those 2?
With Mark?
Mark Nikoski and Andrew Emily.
Yeah, well, they'll both be offered contracts. We want them to continue. They're good players. They're heart and soul players for this club. They have been all the way through. And the way Nico ended up this year, he'll certainly be offered a contract, and hopefully he'll play on. He's a good player.
Can you just clarify, you disregarding a big fish in the free agency setup, or do you think that is the lower priority compared to working with what you've got? This club's always worked with the players we've got, Mark. As you know, we've always drafted underneath.
But if we can find the player that we think is going to complement our list, naturally we'll go for it. When we have in the past, it's worked for us. We've got in Tyson Stengline, Daniel Chick in previous drafts, and they've been really good players for us. We've got Josh Hill this year, and albeit none of them were seen as big fish, they were seen as good solid players. And I think Josh has been wonderful for us this year. He's a great character around the place, and he's been a good player.
I think pick 17, you'll enter the draft with, so it's not a high pick. Does that make it more important? You're not going to get an elite player, or someone perceived to be elite at 17, you're getting a bit more mid-range. Does that mean that spot could be traded out and you try and get players that way?
Well, it's hard to say you won't get a good player, Craig. You know, sometimes you get lucky, you know, and we've been lucky in, you know, we've got Jack Darling late, and that's well documented. We're very lucky there, and you've seen what a wonderful player Jack is at 20. He's going to be a good player. So it's hard to tell, and sometimes clubs are looking for a particular type of player, so a more talented player slips through, and we'll have to look at that and weigh it up. We might also look at trading our first or second round pick to try and get in a player. And they're the things that the coaches and the list manager and recruiting staff will work through over the next fortnight and start to formulate a plan, and we'll work to that plan.
Your Australian Awards tonight, have all the Eagles nominations made their way over there?
Yeah, they're all going to go if we got out anyway, so it's great that we've got 4 nominations, and fingers crossed they'll all get in. I mean, all 4 of them have had sensational years. They've been just consistent, and I think Coxie's, what's he coming up for a 6th nomination perhaps, and Glassy's about at 4 or 5. But it would be great if Nick and Bo could get in as well, because they've just been super players for us. In fact, I'm not sure whether Bo's gone. No, I don't think he has because of his foot. But they've all had really good seasons, and for Bo Waters and Nick in particular, it would be great to see them recognised for the performances they've put up this year.
One last one, this. Darren Glass, Bush mentioned afterwards, after the match on Saturday night, the captaincy next year. Do you think more likely or less likely to be still captain?
It's hard to say with Glass. Every year he says he's going to step down and he's up again, but he's been pretty reluctant to be the captain of any footy club because he's so low-key. He's low-key with everything he does, but he gets the job done. He's a remarkable captain and very understated. I think if Glassy was a player out of a Melbourne-based club, he'd be thought of in the same regard as Silvani and Scarlett and these guys, because he's such a good player. But I think he's as good a captain as we've had, and we've had some great captains, and he sets a fine example for everyone. You know, John has great affinity with him, so it'll be difficult for him to convince us he shouldn't be captain, but he might think it's probably time. So we'll talk about that over the summer and see where we land.